Hello, everybody, and welcome to my new Football Manager save. Now, we are going to try and get Blyth Spartans, yes, Blyth Spartans, from Conference North to the Premier League. Now, this is obviously going to be kind of like a long-term save, so we are going to try and challenge ourselves. I've kind of done some research on Blyth to see, what they're about, as it were, and it turns out they are not that interesting at all. But nevertheless, I will run through a couple of the facts I learned about this team. So they were founded in 1899. The nickname is the Spartans. And the thing that drew me to this is I looked down the list of potential teams, knowing that I wanted to take on a long-term challenge like this. I wanted to start in the lowest league in England. I looked basically, I have to admit that I kind of looked at the logos, the badges, as it were, and chose the most interesting one. In this case, it was Blyth Spartan. Now, the nickname, like I say, is Spartans. They play in Croft Park. The capacity is 4,435. Now, obviously, we'd like to improve that over a period of time. And I did try and look for some famous players, and there really aren't any. I mean, I found that an ex-Norwich player, Matty Patterson, played for Blyth Spartans, and also they were managed or coached by Lee Clark, the ex-Newcastle player, amongst other teams. That was about the most interesting thing that I found out about the team. So we're just going to play now. My manager name is Jimmy Davis. Anyone who's watched my Sims videos will know that that's the character that we're using in that, and effectively he will be the character that we use in any of the saves that we make on any game. So it always will be Jimmy Davis. I don't know any of these players, to be honest. So we are effectively going to start afresh. And I'd like to think that maybe some of these players will go through the leagues with, but generally speaking, I'm going to assume that most of these players, if not all these players, are going to leave us and go to pastures new, and we'll get a brand new set of players as we progress through the leagues. Maybe not, but we shall see. The save literally took you from the opening screen to here. And as we are, basically the format for these episodes before we get started is it's certainly in pre-season. I'm not going to play the pre-season games. I'll just get my assistant manager to play those games, and I'll kind of take you through as I make transfers. I'll show you. So we'll be a bit part in pre-season. As the season progresses, then we'll do a couple of games an episode, and if anything more interesting happens, like the transfer deadline, for example, we'll go into more detail about that. But certainly this initial episode is just a case of getting started, really. So we'll set our responsibility, we'll pick a formation, we might look and see if there's any money to spend. I very much doubt it. In fact, we'll start there now, we'll go to finances. So we've got 31,000 in the bank. Interestingly, we're making a 10,000 loss. Projection, yeah, we're going to be in the minuses. Obviously, we'd hope to progress through the league, so that may not impact us as much. I tend to be an aggressive kind of manager. I tend to spend all of the wages, as much of the money in anticipation to try and get promoted as quick as possible. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, this could be a complete fail, and we could end up not getting anything done, really. So I'm just going to look at who's on the contracts. Now, I'm not going to go... We forgot, as there's a couple with trip extensions, we'll just quickly do this. I won't do any of the long negotiations because I know that can be quite boring. But thankfully, most of these have extensions. And to be honest, because they've got quite a lot of potential, these are the sort of players that we will try to keep at the club. I mean, arguably, he may not be someone. I tend to look at the star ratings initially and before I look at potential, because I often find that potential doesn't tend to get there. Obviously, that's not always the case. Sometimes the potential does. But for me, personally, I will look at the potential the current ability first. And then also look at, like these players, for example, I am picking them on because he's 19. So even if he's not one of our best midfielders, for me, probably he will start because I'd like to try and kick him on and see if we can make something of him. I tend to do that. Every single season, I will tend to pick a player, maybe two, like he's another player at 19. Chances are I will probably jump in to some extent. So we've got some good players, actually. I mean, I don't know what our expectation is. I didn't look, like I say, I purely picked on the logo. Often if I do a save like this in my offline game, I will try and pick teams that maybe get promoted in the first season and then get the save going that way. But really, we're just going to try and throw ourselves in. So we've extended everyone who we think is good. I mean, these probably, to be honest, these players probably will get extended in the end, but I'm not in a rush to do that as yet. So we've got a good bunch of players there. So we're going to create our tactic now. I don't tend to worry about introductions and stuff. So I quite like the possession style football. So this quite works in our favour. Just whether sometimes I'll make my own, from my own style. But in this case, I think I'm gonna go control possession. Why not? And I won't play the attacking midfielder. I tend to play a defensive midfielder. I won't play around there, but I think I'll probably drop that back there and have a defensive midfielder. I do love the inverted winger. I think that works quite well. So what we'll do is we'll just put our players in. Now, anyone who isn't good, if we don't have a player, in, like for example, this is a prime example of that, I will just look and see if there's a potential for a player in that. I mean, he's already, for some reason, he is transfer listed. I wouldn't necessarily have done that personally, so we might change that. Yeah, anyone who, if we had a player who, say, like, for example, we had a 2-star player in there, in pre-season, I tend to leave that empty because I'll come back and see if I can get someone else in that position. It just helps me to choose in that position. Obviously, he's a non-contracted player. He's got a lot of potential, so we're probably going to give him a contract. I might do that now while I think of it. Do it in this mode. I don't want to. I'll have to do it in a little while. That's fine. I'm definitely going to get him a contract because he does look good. Defensive midfielders. Probably going to find that we're better in another place. On the wing. Reed is going to be good there. We've got those guys. I'm good in that position. This would be a prime example. I don't know necessarily that I'm going to put anyone in there. Then this is not a ball win player, as it were. Might leave that empty. No, I think what I'll do is I will put that guy in there and then like up him. It's very hard to get used to a new team and kind of make a video on it at the same time because you are effectively seeing this at the same time as I am, which is fun. We're going to do this adventure together, as it were. Right, no one going to be good in that position. No, he's going to be attacking left, attacking right. Yeah, so I mean, someone like that, for example, yes, his current ability is only 2.5 stars, but his potential ability is really good. So we can get him playing much as I want current ability because we want to get out of the leagues. We need the current ability, although obviously current ability is reflective of your goal. So if we were to do really well, then our current ability of these players will probably drop down. But we can't worry about that as yet. We've just got to worry about what we've got in front of us. So I would tend to stick to advance forward or pressing forward in these sort of scenarios. Advance forward is my preferred. Dan Maguire will fill that position. Now we'll just look and see if there's any clauses. I doubt there is. Let's go through to the next thing. So vision is to avoid relegation. So it could be a rough season. I want to do better than that. I think we can. To be honest, I tend to want to get promoted. I mean, I don't know if that's realistic necessarily, but I don't see a reason why not. I'll make try to make the best transfers I can. I reckon we can do better than that. I don't know. I not that necessarily this is the best scale, as it were, but I can't really saying that we're that bad. Yeah, same with the worst team in the league. Okay, so this could be an uphill battle. See, I never checked. I honestly didn't look. It was completely fresh to me. I just threw us in here and see what lands. So I'm going to just change the staff responsibility. I guess at some point, if anyone doesn't know this stuff, that's going to be almost a help video of sorts. So that's not necessarily my intention. So we don't want to do friendlies. So I'm going to change that. So go down and match. Delegate that. Do we have an assistant manager? No, we don't. So now we're going to delegate it to the head of youth development, but obviously we're going to need to get an assistant manager in there. And I'm also going to put in training. So I tend to do individual training, but I will delegate the general training. And what I will tend to do is I will tend to go in there and add stuff. But generally, I want my coaches to deal with that. I'm more of a tactics / making the transfers kind of guy. Training it is important as it is, but I tend to leave that to the people who supposedly know what is needed. Let's have a quick look in here. We're getting all of this because I've created a new character, new player, as it were. So we've got some transfer budget and some wages. Not a lot, really. Only 500, I would imagine. I don't know how my highest... Annoying after a while getting all those updates. Or those messages, even. I don't know who the highest paid player is. Dan Maguire at 28 is 575,000. So, sorry, £575. Get it right. If he was in the thousands, it'd be one of the highest paid players in England. No, £100. Yeah, so £500 a week. And he's worth 1 to 9,000. So I think what we're going to do, so I think we'll go through these players that transfer list. And I don't want him, he's available for loan. I'll probably play him, to be fair, so I don't want him to be available for loan. This guy, yeah, I mean, we don't need him. We're going to let him go. He's not going to play for us. This guy, I think, looked really good, didn't he? So we're going to give, it doesn't want too much. Every single time we do something different. I'm going to offer him, again, here we go. I guess it's interesting. Annoying for me because I've already seen this 100 times. Sometimes I lose players, but I very rarely ever give them an agent fee or a loyalty bonus. I tend to be very harsh when it comes to that and tend to just make it happen without. And sometimes you'll lose players doing that. It's definitely a thing. I will tend to not bother. Just look at if we have any good youth players. We have no youth players at all. Okay. Right, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to keep playing for a bit and then we'll meet up again, as it were, in a digital sense, once I've made a few changes. Hello and welcome back. So I've only really gone a day, to be honest, and I looked. Initially, I was looking for defensive midfielders, and I'll show you what came up when I there really wasn't anything. You know, I looked at loan players and 2 players came up. I know I've got very low recruitment package selected, so I figured we'll look and see what we've got within the team. And what I basically did is I jigged a few players around. I mean, this painter guy, his potential ability was one of the players I wanted to kind of push, and his potential allows me to kind of do that. I think I'm happy to do that. And then I kind of looked what other positions we want to kind of improve. And actually, to be honest, we've got quite a varied team. We've got, you know, players in good positions. I got a few players on trial. This guy, Joel Movi, he's not that great, to be honest. And then Ben Dooley again, another player of great potential, but do I want to be adding of great? He won't get in the team very, you know, with this painter guy, and there's another guy of great potential that we looked for at the start. They're players who won't really get in the team. I took a 3rd player on trial, and he's 15 years old, and he's a new gen, and he's not that great at all. So we're gonna end the trial of those players and move on, really, I guess. What I tend to do, especially when I'm in the lower divisions, I will ask my assistant to help me select some players. I don't do this generally. Generally, I like to select, you know, find my own players, etc., scout for players. But when I don't really understand the leagues, and this is a league I'm not very knowledgeable of, I could basically take every player on trial without knowing who's good and who's not. So I will tend to do that. One thing I did do in the period of time that I wasn't, you know, recording, as I offered a contract to an assistant manager. He's a pretty poor assistant manager, to be honest. But again, if I show you my staff search, I had to go pretty low down to get anybody. So he's basically the best of the bunch, and at that, pretty poor. So we're going to play on a couple of days. It's annoying. I'm going to talk to the squad. Now, I really hate this kind of talking to the players. I like the fact they do it. Kind of well, I mean, I say hate and like as a contradiction there. I understand why it makes the game more realistic, but for me personally, it adds very, very little to the game. I already did a bit of a bad thing. I didn't even read what I was clicking. Let's just see if we can turn around. So you can generally skip through and make a very reasonable outcome of this. So I'm gonna. They were predicted to avoid relegation, so we're going to assume that that's going to make them happy by saying that. Brilliant. Just wanted to hear. Good account of herself in the FA Cup. Positive. And yeah, great. So they didn't like it. They didn't hate it. That's generally what you want to achieve. Obviously, you know, dressing room atmosphere is good, very good. I'm a new manager to the club, so I'm guessing they're going to be relatively happy with what I've got to offer, at least initially. We'll see how it goes. We're just gonna look and see if any. Actually, I might just see what other players are on loan from any other position. Because we do, you know, it wouldn't be a bad thing to have a few players on loan. I mean, what I tend to find is I won't tend to go for loan players until the very end of the window, because often I found, I don't know if it's certainly not a glitch, but the teams are very willing to let players go on free on the last day, on the transfer deadline day. There's no really, unless you have to, there's not necessarily a benefit personally to get a player in on loan unless you've got the money to do so early on. You might as well wait until the moment where you can get them on a free and you haven't got to pay their wages at all. Just going to see, so we do have the 500. There must be a player in there unattached. If I was in a higher division, I would see if they got any international experience and then kind of filter down. Initially, search international experience, then filter down, but I can't imagine anyone is going to have that. Especially, I mean, there are players who have that, but not when I search down. Get Derek Asoma, 40-year-old, probably not. Tend to go unsure as well quite often. So we've got lots of players. I mean, I think that's Andy Cole's son, who I think he went to Fulham, did he at one point? Yeah, went to Fulham, high expectation for 1.2 million and has dropped all the way down through the leagues. I mean, I guess we can take him on trial. Often in this division, I must admit, when I played in the lower leagues, I'm looking for players I might have heard before, and then seeing if they've still got. I mean, I've heard of him before, but he's another player. A lot of these players will probably come out really poor, but if they haven't really got the scouts to scout these players. I mean, I can scout them. Obviously, I tend to like to get players on trial. Heard of him before. See if he comes in. Yeah, who he played for before? I've had him in a previous save. He used to play for Blyth. Didn't realise that, but he used to play for us before. That's interesting. I've definitely heard of him before. I think he was a non-contract player, and I might have heard of him when he played for. I think it when he played for York. To be fair, is when I've come across him before. I'm just going to go on the list. It's hard to go down. I'm not going to go down for 65 players. And actually, to be honest, let's say there's not many. You know, it's very hard to know what we need to improve. Generally speaking, I would look at the striking line and we look at the depth of the team, which we can do. Striking is definitely a position that we need to improve. You can see that he's not an attacker. He also isn't. There are players who can play there, but do we want to play them out of position, hope for the best? Maybe striking is someone we can look to see what we can, if there's any, you know, anybody out there worth picking up on a free. Because I mean, we've got 2,500 in the. I'd rather have the wages, to be honest, in that sense. Literally, I mean, it didn't give me anything hardly, but I would rather have the wages. I think I've had him before, and he's done incredibly well. So we'll take him on trial. It's hard to know because in previous versions of the game, which is the last time I managed in this league, players tend to go down very quickly in ratings, especially if they've been in the non-contract, as it were, and then in the previous one, and now they're non-contract on this. They tend to go down very quickly. I mean, there's bound to be some players in here who are really good, but there's 72 of them, and I'm not going to be able to search through them all. I tend to look and see, like, you know, do they have anything about them that can possibly Lucas Radley? I mean, sure, he's one of his names. I wonder if he's related to the other. Yeah, he is. Literally, his father. The old Leeds, and they've obviously played for these Kaiser Chiefs. Basically, Leeds most of his career. To be fair, must have played nearly 400 games, 250 games for him, maybe. Yeah, so we're gonna see if one of those players comes out. I'd love that if any of those players I just tried to get in came back good, would be nice. Skip that in. It's really annoying that it's getting us to do all the inductions. Like I said, I made a new character. This guy would be good if he came through because I've had him on previous ones and he has done well. And this guy oddly used to play for us, and again would be quite a good one. I don't know about him, and I mean we know of him. He's certainly not had the career that his dad did. See if any of these players get good ratings. Now I think I probably would take him, to be fair, because he's got the potential to be in League 2, and obviously this guy's quality. But actually, that's not a bad pickup for all those players. I mean, we're not going to be able to afford them all. I think he could play defensive midfield. That could solve our problem. Now, we have got someone who will play there, but we're kind of... I mean, he plays it. Let's go for that and see if we can get him. I want a striker, really, but if I could get 2 of these players in, probably going to want too much. See if we can do it. I don't really want a lot of money already. Going to screw us over for the next guy, but we'll play that. We'll play ball. See if we can get them down. We might have to sell someone, maybe. See if we can do that. See, I never give them the way. Like I say, I very rarely. We're probably going to lose this deal because I'm being tight and won't give up. I'd rather give other stuff than give the agent's fee. Maybe, and this is a good one because they very rarely get to that. So if I tend to be a bit, ambitious here. And almost, it's not a glitch, but it's almost, unfair really, because I mean, he's not going to get 30 goals and assists. But I have known them to, if you do this kind of thing, they will come round. I mean, he didn't, but it will come around. Now, I'm not crying about that, because if I could choose, I would rather have this guy. I mean, obviously, this guy is quality, but under the, 10 seconds earlier, I was saying, I really want to add to my striking line, and that is true. I do really want to add to that. Had that other guy not have come back with such a good rating, I would have even considered him. Hopefully, he shouldn't be asking for too much, really. Yeah, perfect. There's one of the signing on fee, which obviously is perfect. 12 months, which is again good for me. Let's get him, see if we can get him down to 325. Perfect. Now, do I want this guy? Farming wants 2 strikers. I think that is a weak position. I mean, this guy, obviously, he's 19. Could come good. Maybe we'll go for 1 striker and see if that goes. I don't think this, unfortunately for him, he is not going to add much to us, really. He's a 5th choice back in right midfielder, if you like. So he's not going to add anything. So we're going to terminate that. See where we go. Press conference. I hate the press conference. Much like I hate talking to the team, I also hate the press conference. And to be honest with you, I just tend to click the first one. Maybe that's not the best way of playing, but my experience is very rarely does it have any impact. Maybe it has an impact on the team and I just don't notice it, but my experience is I do that and it doesn't tend to affect me too badly. So I tend to do that. Right, I'm not playing the friendlies. As I said earlier, my assistant, in this case, my head of youth development is playing them. Once I get an assistant manager, he will play them. I'm going to keep, I think this episode, we'll end this episode relatively soon. We'll just see if we can sign a player, and that'd be a good place to kind of end, if you like. So what did we do? We did 2-0. So not the greatest result against our second 11, but maybe that could be a good thing. Maybe our second 11 is strong. It could also be seen as a bad thing, but we'll see it as a good thing, I think. There's another guy gone in for him. What I will tend to do if someone goes in for them, I will tend to offer more, maybe a goal bonus, just because I really want that guy. I mean, I've got another guy sitting there who equally I would take if needed. I would rather have that dude, but if he didn't want to come, then I mean, he wouldn't want to become and be a Spartan. I am Spartan. Who wouldn't want that? But if he doesn't want to come, that's fine. We'll go for the other guy. The beauty of having 2 players selected is if one player doesn't want to come, then you've got a second option. I'm more than happy to take on the second one. Here he goes, assistant manager. Like I say, he's not great, to be honest. He's not great at all. But hey, what can you do? So we'll take him. We'll obviously have to upgrade his responsibilities. Get him to lead the training now. We'll do it in here, actually, I think. What I will tend to do is if you got sort of like, I don't know if the youth guy has got better at looking at, better judging of ability and potential, which I think he doesn't overall, to be fair. If he does, I will still get that player to, he definitely doesn't, to give me the reports. I don't mind you know, the assistant manager is often some, you know, kind of a useless position in many ways, I guess you could say. Yeah, there you go. So we'll get him and we'll get the reports if it hasn't already done that for us. By player reports, yeah, perfect. No, let's do that now, and development as well. We'll get actually development, you can keep that. No, we'll provide you, yeah, that makes sense. Coaching, assistant manager, perfect. Always hit confirm. Many times I've come a cropper to that, not to hit confirm, and then it doesn't, and then you think, oh no, you know, why is it not selected that? And that's because you haven't hit confirm and selected it yourself. So yeah, I'm hoping that we can confirm the deal relatively soon. We'll just play for a couple more days. If not, we'll close it up, and then the start of next episode, you'll see whether Cameron, I think his name was, is Stanley, is signed or not. Let's see what they're saying. Obviously, hopefully we'll get through pre-season relatively quickly, and I will play quite a bit off camera to get us to the start of the season, and then obviously record back any interesting moments. I think we'll just play this friendly and then we'll call it, I think, the best option, because sometimes these transfers take a long while, especially if there's many clubs interested in signing him. Then there's a good potential that it could take a lot longer than I'm willing to keep playing. So we'll just Hill of Beef. Beth. I'll just play that one and then see how that goes. Hopefully we win it. I mean, it's nice to win your friendlies. Feels a bit of motivation. Yeah, hopefully we win this friendly. I'll say once we've played the friendly, we will end it there. Or if the transfer goes through before that, we'll also end it there. Hopefully, it does not take too long, he says. Bated breath, wishing and hoping. I think Stanley's gone to Barnet by the look of it as well, which is not great. As to be expected in some ways. I did offer him decent money though, but I mean, he's a quality player. However, unfortunate for us, we'll go for the other guy. The reason why I had two options in there was, I mean, he's a lot older and maybe his potential's a lot less. Also, he doesn't necessarily fill the requirement that we want. He's got 3 stars for attack, advance forward. To be honest, in this kind of league, I won't worry too much about when we get him on a non-contract. That might not be a bad move actually. And then if we don't use him, we don't have to worry about it so much. Although he wants too much to be on a non-contract. And if we can give him a goal bonus to get him around. Let's see, is he going to go for that? Yeah, he's gone for that. Okay. Right, I think I'm going to leave this video here. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and all those good things. Goodbye.